striped. Except you can see Yana and Peter.
You're on the wrong side. We're lumberjacks in there.
It's to sort of destroy my Zen sort of feeling. Feng shui. Okay, so thanks everyone for coming. I'd like to say a few words about Ian. And you can see by the number of people here how popular Ian has been, and it's a good expression of the affections which we feel for him. Now this week is clearly one of transitions. So we have today in state government a new dynamic charismatic leader we call Ted Baillieu, who has also been compared to a meerkat who sort of pops his head out every 4 years and looks for an election, sees it's an election, who doesn't win it. And I'm being ironic about Ted, but I want to contrast him, of course, with Ian, who is totally different kettle of fish, who is a charismatic and dynamic presence in our department, has been. In fact, if I want to carry the animal analogy, rather than a meerkat, I don't know if people remember from their days watching cartoons, that Tasmanian devil who sort of everywhere, flurry of activity, and that's been Ian in a good way. So. Just to characterise him that way. I'm having trouble reading this because I printed it in too small a font, and I could either take my glasses off, then I can't see any of you, which is probably a better idea than I can't read your faces. Okay, so a quick history of Ian. He was educated locally here at a high school in the Clayton area, Clayton Tech, I think, which I don't know.
It's a housing estate
now. It's a housing estate now. Yeah,
Yep.
It happens. Both my high school and primary school are both housing estates, so that's, when you get to a certain age, your school disappears. So he studied in the Clayton area, so it's obviously made sense that he came to Monash, but he didn't do that actually. Being different, he bucked the trend and went to RMIT to study applied science, and it was only after that I guess he saw the light and ended up coming back here to Monash. I guess maybe with his green convictions he thought he should travel less and not sort of travel across town every day. And he did his PhD with Roy Jackson and Frank Larkins here at Monash in the area of iron-based catalysis for coal liquefaction, which I presume is better for the environment than burning it. But, that's right. Okay, following this he worked in a number of positions, particularly related to a company that I haven't already talked to you much about, but seemed to have a long-term involvement with the Department of Chemistry, Sustainable Technologies Australia, which Ian was involved in helping set up, and worked in areas such as electric windows and smart windows, as opposed to these sort of stupid windows. Unfortunately, smart windows obviously haven't taken over.
The electric windows are using solar cell.
Oh, okay, right, that's right. So disensitised solar cell. So there was a kind of a nice circularity about the whole thing. Now at this point in time, so that took Ian to about the end of 1999. At this point in time, like a Clayton awakening from down under, there was a big change happening here at Monash, where the School of Physics and Department of Materials Engineering were combining, following desire of the university to have cross-faculty schools. Of course, it turned out that every other department, especially in science, just changed their name to school, actually didn't do anything. But it was strategic for us to join together with physics, and it's good to see obviously a lot of physics people here, because Ian had a lot of involvement, still has a lot of involvement across the two departments. And so we combined into one entity, the School of Physics and Materials Engineering, especially for those who perhaps aren't aware of it. Now this entity ended up lasting for about 4 years, actually almost precisely the same length of time as George W. Bush's first presidential term. And while he continued on for a second term, problematically for the world, it ended up dissolving. But the key thing was, at that time when we were having a new school, we were restructuring the whole place, or Barry Muddle, my predecessor, was the head of SPME, and he put out 2 ads on in May of 1999 in the Saturday Age, still there in the file, at a cost of $1,500 a pop. And Ian answered and he joined us, and Ian came to us with a lot of experience in the whole university sector, of course Monash in particular, for about 18 or 19 years in areas such as research, finance, business, IP and the like, and he became the school's resources manager, obviously a position well fitted for his experience. Now this was a very busy time for I guess the school at that time and for Ian, and he had very large responsibilities. He was running finances, facilities, HR of a very large school, probably one of the largest certainly in the science engineering area, which had a very broad range of staff, lots of different drivers, spanning 2 faculties, spanning many buildings, many different university environments. So it was quite a complex place to work, and Ian came and gave his all to that position. always being cheerful, positive and friendly. Worked extremely hard under these fairly difficult conditions, I should say, because of the diversity and the range of activity that was happening. And SPME was a success, and Ian played no small part in that success. The range of reasons and complexities, it was devolved again in 2005, and Ian became the facilities manager for materials engineering, which once again was an absolutely vital role. I guess one of our disappointments of our SPME era, and a bit just post to it, was the lack of renovated laboratory facilities that had sort of been promised, which would have been completed, as promised, about a decade ago. So you can see that we often run sort of like running through sand here in slow motion, and there's a hope that, of course, some of that promise will be realised in New Horizons. But that was about a decade ago. It should have been completed, and a lot of work actually at that time was put into Building 27 to be renovated, originally for SPME and then for physics and for materials engineering all those years ago. And we all put a lot of work into planning for that, generated a lot of sort of hot air and paper, which of course didn't come to much. We probably could have run the electricity at the university for about a week on all the efforts we put in, but that's the way it goes, I guess. See, John Brumby spent all this time on all these plans, and then it just doesn't happen. So that's I guess that's life. But as it turns out, we've moved on, and with the New Horizons, a lot of other work was done. I'll mention that in a minute. So facilities, which Ian took on for us, is incredibly important because, as everyone knows, we have labs scattered everywhere, and I don't know how many buildings, but
we were up to 11
up to 11 buildings, so really a very diverse place, and not only for laboratories but also for offices. And I think an important part of that is, of course, keeping the flow of people through those offices happening, but also keeping them in sort of coherent sections so that people of like mind or like area were kept together. And I think Ian's done a fantastic job of that, and that's very important because keeping people together, I guess, who are working in similar areas is very useful to encourage conversation, interaction and so on. And so it's more than just placing people in offices, it's also the background work of understanding their background. I guess Ian's background in research and knowing our department so well, and also being, I guess, able to work with physics in this space even when we've been separate departments has been very important. So it's been a long and detailed task, and Ian's carried a lot of the burden of this exacting work, and for that we owe him a gratitude, a debt alone. Now, of course, through this time, Ian became the Zen master of furniture, able to produce relevant desks and chairs at the drop of a hat, stored away like a human bowerbird in the depths of the university somewhere, sussed out every 10 or so years by the faculty who suddenly wants a room back or something like that, and found that we've been using it for storing furniture. And of course this has been very good, obviously, in terms of budget, but also Ian does it, I know, with a strong sense of the sort of recyclability, of not wasting things, and he's been a strong proponent of that. And indeed, I think it's probably fair to say, as all of us know, Ian has very strong environmental credentials, both in his own life and his work life. I think it's been an enduring feature of his being. And in the department, he set up many schemes that help save materials. And I remember Ian saying to me that to set up these schemes, you've got to set them up so they're easy to use. Otherwise, people won't use them. And the example, even just relatively simple things like the paper and so forth, is where you separate it out and so on, is very important because not so long ago Visy refused to take any paper because it wasn't sorted. So very small things can upset the balance, and if everyone plays their part, we can come to a good conclusion. The other thing, of course, in Ian's resources manager role at the moment has been his involvement with OHS, which I guess is also related to Ian's commitment to people, to fairness and to a safe workplace. And being a chemist, in particular one who's done research, Ian was very well suited to this role, and I know that he's given Wayne very great support in this area and really helped develop the processes and sort of set these things a little bit in concrete that we can follow through and maintain a good work environment. And as people who know the history of the department will realise that we've had a few incidents in the past that have meant that the faculty in the university have had their eyes on us, and so we've had to perform well, and we certainly have from various inspections and audits, etc. we've had in the meantime. In addition to these kind of primary roles, Ian's done a sundry of other things in the department, helping people in a range of professional and personal ways, too numerous to mention. Important, he's always been a strategic thinker in all the things he does, when he talks to me about things, but also in other things that he's done within the department, whichever of those areas that I've mentioned. Always looking for opportunities, always looking at how things could be done better. So for all the many things that he's achieved, many of which will remain long-standing, I'd like to thank Ian on behalf of the department and myself. He's been an able, loyal and helpful colleague and friend to us all. As they say though, the only constant in life is that things always change. They never stay the same. As we're talking now, they're building new horizons over here on the spot where I parked for 20 years. They're ripping down the old materials engineering workshop that existed for many years and hopefully safely disposing of the asbestos in the roof. So please breathe in as you walk past. Sorry, close your mouth as you walk past.
Hold your breath.
Hold your breath is what I meant. And a number of our folk are moving back to Building 36, where at least my life in engineering started with a financial service enhancement office will probably be over the top of where the previous head of department, Paul Rossiter's office, was when I arrived. So as you can see, a lot of things go in full circle in different ways. So I guess Ian now is moving on to the next phase of his life. We wish him all the best. I think we're confident in his ability and drive to ensure that whatever he does will go very well. He's got a number of inventions up his sleeve, and I'm sure many other opportunities will continue to open up and that he'll be able to take advantage of them, and we wish him the very best in doing that. So could we all raise our glasses to Ian, thank him for a job well done, and wish him all the best.